We have had weeks since about 2 weeks before Christmas. We've had 1 or 2 dry days in between. Some days we've had a bit of dry for a few hours during the day, then rain again in the evenings. So I am just going to show you quickly what the plans are for 2023 for the front garden, because there is a few changes happening. The 2 honeyberries over there, they're coming out. I don't like them anymore. They're not productive, they're not usable, not even the birds are eating them. So they're going. They have to go. I don't know what else I'm going to put there yet. I'm still planning on that. But the honeyberries are going. That'll leave space for more plants to go in there. And I do want to put in more perennial vegetables in the front garden. So I think maybe a globe artichoke and something else I might get in there. But we'll see. Possibly the quince. I'm not sure about that one yet. That hydrangea, oh my days, this was so neglected. With that deep frost we had, that has really punished that. It needs cutting down completely anyway to regenerate it. Even the rhubarb, look, after that horrible frost that's killed everything off, it's got new shoots coming. Look at that. New shoots. Let's hope we don't get too much of a frost to kill that off. So anyway, plans for 2023 for the front garden. We're going to sort out this circle properly. There's supposed to be a water feature going in there, not the bird bath. That is going to move into the woodland corner so that the birds are sheltered in there. They won't use it unless it's sheltered. If it's exposed, they don't use it. So that's covered there by the pergola. But at the same time, I want a sunken water feature in there to encourage some frogs into the garden to help with the slugs. Other changes are, and I think that's the best place for it to go, in that corner. So figure out something different. And I'm going to be putting trellising along the handrails here to put window boxes on the other side and have something growing on that side as well, and this side. So I'll have some trellising on there, and I'm going to make some gates this year if the budget stretches to that. That is on the reserve list. That's all in the front garden. Simple stuff. The pond or the paths. I need new wood chips. Desperately need new wood chips. I have asked a number of tree surgeons since summer last year, and I've not had much at all. Nobody's responded. Everybody promises and does nothing. So I'm going to have to figure out long term what I can do about something more permanent in the paths. And that might have to be with that very fine gravel in between the slabs, so that it's more permanent and I don't have to keep replacing it every year. But I will continue to try and get wood chips for in the beds, for the borders, because that is one way of making soil, retaining moisture and insulating the ground in the winter. And also in the heavy rainy seasons, that wood chip acts as a sponge to stop the ground getting too wet. Oh, and remember that oak that died? It's got new shoots coming up at the bottom. So that is wonderful to see that. The garden fences all need getting rid of the algae first and then painted again. The fences need painting. And we do need to figure out fencing on that side of the garden, or a barrier of some kind, whatever we're going to do, I'm not sure. But we need to figure that out as well. This jasmine, look at that. It was doing perfectly. It was doing so wonderfully, and it is dead practically. It's happened before with a harsh frost that we had. It was a really deep, hard frost. It's happened before to the jasmine, but it came back stronger. So I'm hoping it might regenerate in the spring. I still haven't dug up that yacon. I'm not looking forward to looking at that. The catnip over there is sending loads of new shoots. The Hamburg parsley and the sea trays are still doing fine over there. But this garden is completely waterlogged. It's had so much rain. Even those wellies are full. Water butts. Look at that. That is full to the brim, those wellies. And those carrots, I'm going to have to get them up because surely they're going to start rotting. But so far they seem to be okay. And just as we had that frost, all the leaves on the trees all just dropped off and fell. So it's like autumn in January. But anyway, as to plans for next year, let's start with a wood shed, because that is an important part. That is our heat in. I'm going to cover in the sides, this side and the other side, properly. I'll leave the tarp on the front. The paths desperately need wood chips. We need to be able to walk here, so I'm going to have to get some slabs to dot down the path and then put wood chips in between, because we need to be able to access the wood. The beds are overwintering fine. Plants have survived the frost. They're doing okay. There's not much to do there. The center of the garden here in the orchard, that desperately needs wood chips. There's nothing left of the original wood chips. It's all turning to mud, and as you can see, washed down that way. This is going to be dismantled. It worked for 1 year, and suddenly for some reason it's not holding the temperature. I have no idea why, but it was an experiment. We'll start again. We're going to build a decent pizza oven. Personally, I'd like to just fork out money and buy one. Really, I don't have much time, energy, and the inclination at the moment to even think about building one from scratch, because I think that's going to be even more expensive than just buying one. I would love to build things from scratch, but sometimes it's better just to cut your losses. The blackcurrants already have wonderful shoots coming up everywhere, so it's promising. It's promising. The frame on this bed I've put up here, it's no good. I'm going to build a proper frame and net it properly for a fruit cage, so that we could grow better raspberries, blackcurrants and blueberries. And I'm going to raise the soil level as well. Some of the plants will have to be lifted. The raspberries can stay under there, but they've spread, so I need to make them behave. But yeah, the soil level has to come up further. I'm slowly building up soil. I can't afford the amount of compost that's needed to fill these beds, so I'm doing it a little bit more every year. And while the plants are dormant, they can be lifted. And even now with these budding, I could take a huge chunk of soil with the root ball so that it doesn't disturb it too much, raise it up, fill it underneath with fresh compost to raise it up more, and then I'll use wood chips to mulch the top. That will really help, and I'll do that for another 2 years, and then it should be able to fill the bed by then. But yeah, building a frame, covering with nets, raising the soil level, that's what we got to do in this bed. These beds at the bottom of the list, just like the front garden, if there's time, money and opportunity. And I really want it to, because this year I'm focusing on getting the beds ready to produce right the way through the year, so that I can rotate the beds and grow different things all the way through the year. And there are some vegetables that, even though they grow through the year, they might slow down. But I mean, those leeks and onions, they're surviving because they're covered by micro mesh and construction netting, even though they look like they've the leaves are a bit bent and beaten. But they're surviving, and so are the onions in the other bed at the back there. Or are they leeks? Could be leeks. But they're surviving. The chard has really suffered in the frost, but the mint is still going. That is so unusual. Go figure that one. Right. Okay, so I need to take the bamboo out around here, train the trees as I want them to grow. The buddleia has to be cut right back down so that it can refresh them and they don't drown out the apple trees. The ponds, I need only one of them. I need sunken properly into the ground. The one's got a hole in, so that's got to go, and I can use that for one of the plants. But the one that's still working will be sunk into the ground. So there'll be a pond going in the front, a pond going into the ground here, because I do want to encourage the frogs and toads. Yeah. That needs doing. So today I'm going to go and get the wood chips to cover that and the path to the wood store, because that's the most urgent job that needs doing immediately. These beds need covering for the winter. Another job I really want to do, because for the first time ever, the frost that we had actually got in under the veranda, and it killed my Cape gooseberry, which is 4 years old. I've kept it hoping that maybe it will resprout from the bottom, the base of the plant again, just in case. But if it doesn't, it's a goner. So what I'm going to do is we're going to re-roof all of the pergola right the way across, because it's now been, what's it been, about 5 years or so, and the corrugated plastic is really getting brittle and breaking for silly reasons. So yeah, that needs replacing. That is the priority this year as well. That's why everything else that's going to cost money has to wait until it's available, because that's a priority, because we need to keep that dry underneath so that we can still use the garden in the bad weathers. So yep, the new roofing and the same stuff I'm using for the roofing, I'm going to put that high a level right the way across to stop the wind getting in from that direction. And this side, I plan on putting a trellis, just this side of a trellis there to close in this section, and put water butts behind it, but I'll build a shelf above it for plants to sit on top of the trellis as well, so that the water butts can connect, and I can save more water for the summer, and make more of a thermal mass over there to keep warmth in us, because this is the south facing corner of the garden, so the water will absorb the heat through the day and radiate it into the veranda at night and protect the plants there more. And the back there will be built up with the strawberry tower. So the roofing and the strawberry tower is the priority for this year in the back garden, and the wood chips for the paths, because there's no good, you know, we've still got at least another 2 to 3 months of potentially wet weather, winter and spring. So I'm not traipsing through mud, and I don't want my garden ruined, and I want to start making it the paradise I envisioned it more than 5 years ago. So tidying up and more using, chopping up that wood, that 200-year-old beams for more firewood. They're ready to go because they're, like I said, they're ancient from inside a building, so they don't need seasoning, but we do need dry weather to cut it with a chainsaw. So that's gonna go. We're gonna properly renovate, what do we call it, decorate, and remake this a proper room as I envisioned it before. So that's exciting stuff for there. And the potting shed needs covering. I'm covering in the sides of the beds and the other side as well, so that I have more of a potting shed than shelving, and I can grow stuff more in the winter. But that's about it for the plans for 2023 for this garden. Just tidying up, making it more pretty instead of just thrown together. Obviously those bamboo arches are going. We've got to do something decent there and more permanent and prettier, because this does not look like the garden I envisioned, but it will be by the time I'm done. I'm feeling positive about 2023 because I am intentional. I'm feeling intentional because I've made plans and drawings, and I want it to happen. I'm going to make it happen. I've written down the plans. As you know, because I don't do New Year's resolutions, I have a set of goals that I permanently improve on, and eventually, as each of them are finally achieved, I tick that off and maybe add more, or just continue on with the list through the years. And there's some things that will perpetually be worked on, like rotating the beds, and eventually they'll have to be replaced because they have wood and this is a wet garden, so it'll eventually need replacing. So those are things that keep needing doing. But I think there's an evolution in my goals, at one stage at a bit, 1 month at a bit, 1 year at a bit, until eventually they're where I want them to be. And I think that's a better way of doing things than jumping on the bandwagon of New Year's resolutions that for most people don't exist by the middle of the year. That's why I do a semi-annual review as well, where I make sure I regularly go through the book, the diary I keep of my goals and plans, and I check them at the beginning of the year, and I write down notes through the year, read back on them as I said at my annual review in December, and see how far I've got. I'm quite happy that we've actually achieved so much since we moved in. I'll put a link into the video where I show you the evolution from when we first moved in, and this was nothing but lawny patches and a path and tall hedges. That was it, nothing else. That was it. So to come to where we are now and everything we've achieved over those years, I'm quite happy because we've done it on an extreme budget, make do and mend wherever possible. I'm satisfied that my way of working with goals every year has been far more effective than ever trying to use New Year's resolutions. I try to keep things realistic and achievable. There's no way I could achieve the end vision in a short space of time with the budget and opportunities and the physicality that we have. We have to do it over a long period of time, so it helps to spread that goal over. And although I have an end goal vision, I also have staged visions of where I want to be at what time and how long I want it to take. But I am flexible enough to allow for circumstances to allow the evolution. So it's the evolution of the garden, there'll be an evolution of the house, there'll be an evolution of the business, so to speak, as far as the entrepreneurial things go and the write-in. And I'm going to also, as I said in the last video, I'm starting podcasting at the end of this month. So that'll be one to my first one. I don't know how that'll go, but that'll be exciting. Lots of evolutions going on, and ones that I can envision continuing for the rest of the year. My self-reliance journey is definitely improving. Even the garden, there's more food in this garden during the winter this year than has ever been since we moved into this house, because I have onions and leeks and garlic. There's carrots, there's kale, there's even chard, and there are even some herbs, all still surviving and overwintering just fine. Oh yeah, so I am pleased that this year is feeling, looking and determined to be better than any year before, even in the face of the forecast trouble we're about to face this year. I want this to be the best year in spite of what's coming, and that all depends on my attitude. That is also what I'm going to be focusing on this year, my mental health and that of those around me, my family, because we are in for some really tough times. People are going to have to put away their preferences of brands and habits and their luxuries and what they consider to be luxuries, because what a lot of people now consider necessities are actually luxuries and will become so again. So it's going to take a lot of mental strength and resilience to be able to endure these things. But we can do it. We're human beings. We've done it before. We've been through far worse as a species, and we can, if we're willing to do what it takes, especially mentally, to retrain ourselves to be resilient and adaptable. No matter what this year throws at us, folks, we're gonna ace it. And I want to take you along with us on that journey to ace this year, no matter what it throws at us. I know there are going to be days where I'll be in absolute tears in the shower, hiding them from the family, where I probably will be exhausted, stressed, but I will not let it be the dominant theme of my mental health for the year. I am going to battle with trials this year. I've had enough. It's time for moving forward. It's time for progress. It's time for achieving those goals. So come along with me. Get on your armor. Let's battle this year together. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share if you don't mind. I do appreciate you all so very much, and thank you so much for your likes, your shares, your comments, and a special welcome to the new subscribers as well. We have a few of those this year. Take care, folks. See you next week. Bye-bye.